All right, today we are diving deep into one of the most powerful, and let's be honest, one of the most misunderstood hymns out there, the Shani Chalisa. This incredible 40-verse prayer is all about Lord Shani, who you can think of as the cosmic governor of karma, discipline, and justice.
But here's the big question, right? When you think of Lord Shani, what's the first image that pops into your head? Is he this fearsome judge you should be afraid of? Or is he actually a righteous, tough love kind of teacher, guiding us through life's biggest challenges? That's the mystery we're going to unravel together. So, here's our game plan. We'll start right at the beginning with the invocation. Then we'll build a picture of Lord Shani himself. We'll get into his power, his many names, and his influence. After that, we'll dive into some epic stories of cosmic justice, decode all the astrological symbols, and finally, we'll get to the best part, the promise of grace. Ready? Let's do this. Okay, first up, section 1, the invocation. Now, in almost all sacred Hindu prayers, you don't just jump straight in. You have to clear the path first, make sure the way is open. And for that, you call on the one and only Lord Ganesha, the remover of all obstacles. So the Chalisa opens with this beautiful doha. Jai Ganesh Girja Suvan, Mangal Karan Kripal, Deenan ke dukh dur kari, Kijay Nath Nihal. Jai Jai Shri Shani Dev Prabhu, Sunahu Vinay Maharaj, Karahu Kripa He Ravi Tanay, Rakhahu Jan Ki Laj. So what's actually happening here? Well, it's a two-step approach. First, it's all about honoring Lord Ganesha, asking him to take away sorrow and bring prosperity. It's only after that, once the path is clear, that the hymn turns its attention to Lord Shani. It's a direct plea saying, "Victory to you, Lord Shani, son of the sun god. Please, listen to my prayer, show me mercy, and protect my honor." It's such a humble and respectful way to begin. And that leads us right into section 2. This is where the Chalisa starts to paint this incredibly vivid picture of Lord Shani. And pay close attention because every single detail here is symbolic. We're moving from a physical description to a much deeper moral lesson.
Jayati Jayati Shani Dev Dayala, Karat Sada Bhaktan Pratipala, Chari Bhuja Tanu Shyam Virajay, Mathe Ratan Mukut Chhavi Chhajay, Param Vishal Manohar Bhala, Tedhi Drushti Bhrukuti Vikrala, Kundal Shravan Chamacham Chamke, Hiye Mal Muktan Manidam Ke.
So we get this amazing portrait, right? He's dark complexioned with 4 arms, wearing a brilliant jeweled crown. He has a broad forehead, really intense eyebrows, shining earrings, and a gorgeous necklace of pearls and gems. But the one detail that always captures everyone's attention is his gaze. It's described as a crooked or sideways glance. And right there, you might be thinking, hold on, a crooked gaze? That sounds a little intimidating. Is he angry or displeased? It's a completely fair question, but the Chalisa is basically telling us, look closer. There's way more to the story. And here it is, the big reveal. That sideways glance isn't a sign of anger at all. It's an act of profound mercy. The tradition says that Lord Shani's direct gaze is so immensely powerful that it could cause destruction. So by looking to the side, he's actually protecting us. He's shielding everyone from the full intensity of his power. Isn't that incredible? What seems fearsome on the surface is actually an act of deep compassion. The description of his power continues.
Karmegata Trishul Kuthara, Palbich Kare Arihina Sanghara.
So he's holding a mace, a trident, and an axe. And yeah, he can vanquish any enemy in a heartbeat. But again, think about what these really are. They aren't weapons for random aggression. They're instruments of cosmic justice. They exist to destroy evil and uphold the universal law of karma. Which brings us perfectly to section 3, where we get to explore the sheer scale of his power, the many names he's known by, and just how deeply he influences our lives. Next, the Chalisa lists his 10 powerful names, and each one reveals a different side of his complex personality. Listen. Pingal, Krishna, Shaya, Nandan, Yam, Konast, Rodra, Duk, Banjan, Sori, Mand, Shani, Dashnama, Banuputra, Pujihan, Sakama. Now what's so fascinating here is how these names capture his duality. He's called Raudra, the terrible, but in the same breath, he's Duk Banjan, the destroyer of sorrow. You see, he's not one-dimensional. He embodies both the problem and the solution. The verse finishes by saying that he's worshipped to ensure all tasks are completed successfully. And if you want to understand the scale of his power, just listen to this. Japa Prabhu prasanna hai jahim, rankahu rao karekshan mahim, parvatahu trunhoi niharat,
Trunhu ko parvat kari darat.
This verse gets right to the heart of it. With his blessing, a beggar can literally become a king in an instant. A problem that feels like a mountain can shrink down to a tiny blade of grass. But on the flip side, if he is displeased, the smallest little issue can explode into an insurmountable mountain. His influence is swift, absolute, and completely transformative. Okay, now it's story time. Section 4 is where we get to see these principles in action through mythological stories. And what these tales show us is that cosmic law applies to everyone. No exceptions. Not for gods, not for kings, not for anyone. And get this, the Chalisa makes a startling connection between Shani's influence and the epic Ramayana, suggesting a deeper cosmic law was at play. Just listen. Raj millet wan Rama hindin ho, kaya kehun kimati harlin ho. Banahon men rig kapati hai, matu janaki gaija turai, lakanahin shakti vikal karedara, machagardal me hahakara, ravan ki gati mati borai, Ramchandra son bear badhai. You see the pattern here? Shani's influence isn't about random bad luck. It operates by affecting one's mati, their intellect and judgment. Kaiki's mind gets clouded at the worst possible moment. Sita's legendary wisdom fails her when she's tricked by the deer. And even the brilliant Ravana has his intellect corrupted, leading him down a path of self-destruction. The lesson here is that Shani tests us through our own choices, especially when our judgment is under pressure.
Now for one of the most legendary tales of all, the trial of King Vikramaditya. The Chalisa sets the stage with this unbelievable event. Drip Vikram Pertuhi Pagudara, Chitramayur Nigali Gaihara, Har no Laka Lagyo Chori, Hot Bear Daravayo Dori, Hari Dashan Nikrishta Dikhayo, Til Dihin Ghar Kolhu Chalvayo, Vinay Rag Deepak Mahan Kino, Thab Prasanna Prabhu Havai Sukhdeen Ho.
This story is just incredible. The king is falsely accused because of an impossible event, suffers a brutal punishment, and loses absolutely everything. A total fall from grace. But, and this is the most important part, that's not where his story ends. After hitting rock bottom, he prays with such fierce devotion that he pleases Shani, who then restores everything he lost. It's a powerful story of hardship leading to purification and ultimately redemption. And the list goes on and on, proving that no one is exempt. King Harishchandra lost everything. Lord Shiva endured unimaginable grief. Even Shani's own father, the sun god Surya, wasn't spared. The message is crystal clear. The law of karma, which Shani upholds, is impartial, absolute, and applies to everyone. Okay, so we've heard the epic stories. Now let's shift gears a little. In Section 5, we move from mythology into astrology to decode the symbols and signs that help us understand Shani's influence in a more systematic way. The Chalisa actually lists the different vehicles or vahanas that Shani can ride. It goes like this. Bahan Prabhu ke saath sujana, Diggaja haya gardab mrigaswana, Jambuk singh adi nakadhari, so phala jyotish kahat pukari. So he has these 7 main vehicles: the elephant, horse, donkey, deer, dog, jackal, and lion. Now, according to astrology, the specific vehicle he is symbolically riding in a person's life is what determines the kind of results and experiences they're going to have. And as you can see, there's a pretty direct meaning for each one. If Shani arrives on an elephant, a horse, or a lion, that's great news. It points to wealth, happiness, and success. But if he shows up on a donkey or a jackal, it could mean you're in for some obstacles or that your judgment might get a little clouded. It's like a cosmic framework for understanding life's blessings and challenges.
But wait, there's another layer of astrological insight here. The hymn talks about 4 charans, or feet, each made of a different metal. Taisahi chari charan yanama swarna loh chanji arutama lo charan par jab prabhu aven dhan jan sampatti nasht karaven samata tamra rajat shubhakari swarna sab sukh mangalakari.
And this gives us a clear hierarchy. The iron foot is considered the most challenging. Copper is basically neutral, things are just normal. Silver is auspicious, which is great. And gold is the absolute best, bringing all around happiness and prosperity. It just provides another level of nuance for interpreting his influence. So after all the intense stories and the complex astrology, we finally arrive at the most hopeful part of the entire hymn, Section 6, the promise of grace.
This is the part that gives us the solution, the path to earning Shani's favor.
And here is the direct promise made to anyone who recites it. Jo ya Shani Charitra Nitgave, Kabohu na Dasha ne Christave Satave, Agbut not Dekaven Lila, Kare Shatruke Nashi Bali Dela.
So get this, the Chalisa itself is presented as the remedy. It says right there in the text that whoever chants it regularly will be protected from Shani's harsher influences. Instead, the Lord will reveal his wondrous divine play, his Leela, in their life, and any enemies they have will simply lose their power. And beyond just reciting the hymn, it also suggests simple, practical acts of devotion. You can perform formal rituals, sure, but you can also do things like offer water to a sacred peepal tree on Saturdays or light a small lamp. These simple actions, when done with real faith, are said to bring great happiness and blessings.
And that brings us to the final concluding doha, which seals the Chalisa's ultimate promise. Path Shanischar Dev ko kiyo ho vimal tayar, karat path 40 din ho bhav sagar par.
And what an ending. The author of Vimal literally puts his name on the line and makes a vow. He says that anyone who recites this Chalisa for 40 consecutive days will be helped across the Bhav Sagar, the great ocean of worldly suffering and the endless cycle of rebirth. This is huge. It elevates this prayer from something for material problems to a powerful tool for spiritual liberation. So in the end, the Shani Chalisa masterfully transforms our whole perspective. It shows us that Shani isn't some vengeful god to be feared, but the living embodiment of a universal principle: karma, cause and effect. It's asking us not to run away from hardship, but to reframe it, to see it not as a punishment, but as the soul's curriculum, the very path to wisdom and resilience. So maybe the question isn't whether Shani is a judge or a teacher. Maybe the real question is, are we willing to be his students?
Don't forget to like and subscribe.